Let's get into this. I want to introduce my guest. I don't know if he needs an introduction. Like I said, fellow tradesman, person who rallying around the country for the sake of freedom and for the sake of affordability for Canadians in this land. I want to welcome to the show Sam Field. What's happening, my man?
Hello, my friend. Nice to see you.
It is nice to
Nice
see
to
you.
see you.
You're wearing your coveys, but it almost looks like you just got out of prison or something. You got the high vis
No,
ones.
kind of. We were fortunate enough to have date night tonight. So Tamara and I just got in from out. We went and had chicken dinner tonight, and she picked the shirt. So it not enough time to keep changing wardrobe, and this is what's comfortable, and I like orange, but no political affiliation. That's for sure.
Yeah, you look like you dressed up like Stephen Guilbeault. It's hilarious.
Well, who knows? I mean, if you listen to some people, I guess they've got it out to put me behind bars for my actions, and I just it's preposterous what you and I are going through right now for merely standing up for what we believe is going to make a difference in Canada and in the country and even around the world. Like you said, what's happening in the waves that we've been making. Yeah, it's good. It's good for the longevity of humanity, as far as I'm concerned, and that's what I want to keep working towards, and I think you do too. So,
Well, let's talk about some of
um,
those actions. Right now, you're heading off this rally against the carbon tax. The what are you calling it? The Axe the Tax rally? Is that the official name for it? I guess.
no, it's the nationwide protest against the carbon tax, and we definitely, with all our might, we tried to eliminate any political affiliation from it. The fact that the conservative government is using it as a marketing ploy or whatever, they've definitely jumped on board with it, and that's fine. It is something that should be acknowledged. I do think that the parliamentary system right now has a whole bunch of other things that they could be focusing on and could be talking to the constituents about. Other than this, I mean, we're doing a good job acknowledging the harm of the carbon tax. Like, just look at our industry. Kevin O'Leary, he's like, if you were trying to start industry in Canada right now, you must be heavily funded, and there's the evidence. You follow the money. Who is getting big grants and who's getting the money in our sector alone. It's very evident to me. But
So, what sector
yeah,
is that exactly for the audience that doesn't know what you
oh,
do?
the Volkswagen EV project, getting heavily subsidized in southern Ontario there to build a new plant, and it's with good intention, I suppose, but it's blown so far out of proportion the value that the Canadian taxpayers are going to have to pay. A solid auto manufacturer to encourage them to come and build an electric battery plant here in Canada. I don't think there should be so much emphasis on stuff like that. And it's talking. He was just at the Honda plant, and that's right close to where I grew up. So to hear him speak about what they're going to do there, and um, yeah, there's a lot of directions that we should be investing our hard-earned money in, and I think yeah, all the yeah, where the current government is putting it is pretty much unacceptable in my eyes right now. So
$5 billion for 1,000 jobs. That's the stat. That's the number. Trudeau got upset when a reporter said that. How many jobs did you say? Right, for $5 billion. It's crazy. So,
and he got very yeah. Sorry,
oh,
I'm
no, no, no,
I'm
no,
trying
no,
to
no.
interrupt
Go
you.
ahead. You're my guest. I want you to say every.
He got very upset, like, to see him jump back into the microphone and address that question from that reporter was just rude. And that's what we're seeing more and more of, is this show that he's putting on.
Well, it's such a ridiculous concept, and I called this months ago. I said you're going to see more of this because the Volkswagen deal went through. What was that, $13 billion for a plant in St. Thomas or
Billion.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Did I say million? Yeah, no.
No,
13
no,
billion with a
yeah,
B, $1 billion.
yeah.
And I said in that time when that came out, when that news dropped, I said, now no auto manufacturer is going to come to Canada without a blank check or a big check. Like they're just not going to do it. And sure enough, here we are. Honda is not coming unless they get $5 billion. Taxpayers' dollars, right? There's no return on investment on that. Like, what do you get for that? You get 1,000 jobs, so you get tax revenue from 1,000 jobs. It would take
And
it would
you
take
and
a
I
million
know,
years to get that money back.
just we can talk right to our, you and me every single day. We're working on this junk, and the technology and the advancement, and where they're saying, all these people go to work every single day to better the manufacturing process and the safety element of it. And we're talking about a lot of hours that have been invested to making a machine that is supposed to be awesome. And with all that, it should become affordable. When you start mass engineering these products, it should be cheaper. The cost of a vehicle right now for what you're getting is disgusting. They shouldn't, the value of what people are paying for a vehicle to propel them through the universe is unacceptable. It's unnecessary. It's there's no balance anymore. That vehicle 40 years ago, that you could buy brand new off the showroom floor for $10,000. And I know the rate of pay, it's not evenly fluctuating right now.
Mm.
And I don't get it. I don't get how there's nobody paying attention. There's no accountability for the unnecessary spending. And a lot of it, we don't need these technologies in these vehicles. There's a lot of the processes in emissions control alone that are during the manufacturing process, and during the precious minerals that are in it. There's a lot of fallacy behind it, and we're paying a lot of money. Like, if you right now, there's people stealing catalytic converters like it's going out of style.
Yeah.
And because of the scrap industry is paying them so much, and it's a quick paycheck for a lot of these guys
Hmm.
that are under hard times, or they're hooked on the drugs, or they've got mental issues, or there's realities in Canada right now, and around the world.
So I just want to
So
backtrack a little bit and just a little for people who don't know who you are. Sam Field, you're an auto mechanic. You're certified Red Seal like me in Canada, and you've been involved in a lot of these protests across Canada. You were involved in the Freedom Convoy. You and I were friends before any of all this stuff even happened. I know you as a local, right? And
yeah,
we've been friends for a long time. And then all of this stuff happens. You find yourself out all the way in Nova Scotia. You did the Freedom Convoy. You were part of that. That was a large success. And then, out in Nova Scotia, and now you're doing this protest, the protest against the carbon tax. So that's a little bit of a backgrounder for anybody who's like, who's this guy? And
yeah, sorry. Yeah, I am Sam. I own Sam's Garage here in Morristown, Nova Scotia. It is the garage itself is a relatively new venture. I'm just coming up a year on it. I've been Red Seal for many years. I had a shop out in Pemberton, right where you and I met, and I've been in the trade all my life. We had a construction rental business. My grandfather did, so I grew up fixing weed whackers and equipment. And my stepfather was an auto mechanic. My father, he's a commercial transport operator, and I've just been around it all my life, and seeing the fact that you can't half-ass it in our industries, right? Like, you have to make sure it's safe. You have to make sure it'll go the long haul. If you cut corners, it's going to come around and bite you in the ass. No, none of us like a comeback.
no,
That is the worst. Doing the job twice in our industry is worse than anything. I like, and not to denounce the safety thing, but you and I are in the same groove, man. Like, if it needs brakes, it gets brakes, or it comes off the road. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And that's where it's hard for me right now in the industry, is seeing how little funds people have, and they've been working their whole life and they were expecting to have a decent retirement, or a solid structure to keep building their families. And this carbon tax is just chiseling away at that. And so anyways, that's me for that. As far as the convoy, the trucker convoy, the freedom convoy, that's it was the TSN turning point for me in standing up after I got to participate in that. And I was a mechanic on the streets there, and I met those truck drivers, and I met the people in their cars, and I met the people that came and supported, from abroad. And it changed me. There's no denying it. I definitely felt really proud of our efforts. We made a big wave around the world with that one, and it changed. I believe we are still on. We're pretty darn close to martial law right now, and it's getting worse. And I think they would have escalated. We would have already not. We wouldn't have been able to have this conversation if we hadn't got up and went to Ottawa with the way I think that the mandates led into the everything that we all know the WEF is trying to push through, and the UN initiatives and the WHO, and how harmful it all is, and how interlocked it is a lot more present for most of the people that went to the freedom convoy, because we all got together and we got to talk, and we got to listen to one another and learn from our experiences. And that's where the real evidence hit me. I wanted to just keep standing up, because it's a long game, and the Canadian people are definitely worth it. I mean, we are inclusive as well. You and I, it doesn't matter your race, your ethnicity, it doesn't matter. We're in it for your car. You call us in the night. If I do a roadside, it's irrelevant. Language barriers are a big hurdle in our industry, because we have to explain to the customer exactly factually what's going on there, and we have to make them feel warm and fuzzy about the money they're about to spend.
That's the hard part.
Putting it on credit.
It's the hard part. Yeah. Incidentally, I had an opportunity to use my Japanese skill about a month ago. Customer came in, but didn't speak English very well, and I was like, they called me over to the service writer desk. Clyde, can you help us? Oh yeah, it actually came in handy once. Every once in a while you get something.
And that's
like that.
It. And that's where it helps, being well versed and multicultural, and that's where the elders that are at the helm are assuming that we haven't been paying attention to one another. We've all, we're the 40s, right? The late 30s to 40s, that we've already been through school with mixed races, and we appreciate each other regardless of the color of our skin and where we've come from. We've already battled those hurdles, and those are old talking points that they're trying to bring up. And to a lot of us, it means nothing. We see right through it. It is nonsense when they're trying to paint us at certain things, and most of these racial issues that we're seeing are really just hammered across on the CBC, on this mainstream media, which there's another atrocious spending spree on our dime. Like, that is our overtime. That is our everything, going towards a machine that is literally trying to, well, they're not trying, they're controlling the narrative 100%. And it goes right down to our Googles and our everything. It's all
you're hitting so many topics all at the same time. Let's
sorry, man.
No, it's all good.
I know we have such a short time.
No, it's good. We can chat for a while. That's fine. So I do want to dive into this one though, because you're talking about when the trucker convoy took off. That was a pivotal moment in Canadian history where Canada was moving in a direction. People were obeying, and they were following orders essentially from a dictatorial prime minister and a dictatorial government and provincial governments that were enforcing all of this arbitrary stuff on us because of this awful pandemic that turned out to not be so awful at the end of the day. And some people were skeptical about whether or not that was the case. And it turns out that those people were vindicated in their skepticism at the end of it. And it was a battle. It was a battle of ideas, and it was a battle of, free-minded, free thinkers saying, no, we're not going to be put in a pen. No, we're not going to be told this or that. We have to, lock up and lock down. And no, finally, it was the truckers that said no to that Arrive can. And that was the trigger. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Was the Arrive can. They tried to implement it on the truckers that had been crossing the border the whole time with no problems. And America didn't even want this. They were saying, no, that's not a thing. And it was lobbying pressure on America that they actually turned around and said, yeah, let's do that. Let's put these restrictions on the border with Canada. And it was truckers that were put in the hot spot. They were the heroes of the pandemic. And then suddenly they had to change the image and make them the villains because they were going against this dictatorial thing. And that's what really sent shockwaves across the world to, holy cow, the Canadians are stepping up. Those guys, really? Like, the guys that, like, a Canadian standoff, for people who don't know, and maybe you're not from Canada and you're watching the show, a Canadian standoff is known as two guys like standing there apologizing to one another and not you get caught in like a loop. Like, Canadians are such friendly people, normally just, take it and go on with their day, because we know how bad it gets. So a lot of times we're just like, I'm not gonna fight that. But Canadians stepped up, they stood up, and they became a thing that kept going throughout all of. Look at Argentina now. We were talking about that earlier. About right. They want freedom now. The Netherlands, then, with the farmers' protests all over Europe, this is happening, and it's all based on the courage, I believe, that came from the Canadian truckers. It's amazing. It's amazing that you were a part of it. You were there. I was just at home reporting on it. And how does that feel? How does that feel to be such part of such an amazing?
I got goosebumps right now, man. I can't lie to you. I literally I have goosebumps just thinking of the moments and the people and the kids, the children that were present, and just seeing the spirit in their eyes, and their parents that understood that the lockdowns and the mask mandates and how it was all affecting everybody, right in every single person's household. There was division all of a sudden, because a lot of people understood the harms, or the when you're going along with the narrative, and you all of a sudden see something that isn't right, and then you choose to still go along with the narrative, that it weighs on you. It hurts you. And there was a lot of people that isolated themselves, and they removed good people from their life because of these nonsense mandates. And they were being ushered through by the municipal governments and these silly grocery stores telling you how far to stand apart, and herding you like cattle. And when I got to see those parents with the empathy and the thanks that we were doing something for their children and our children, and we were there representing one another, and it was selflessness that really hit it home, that everybody didn't care. They were doing it for somebody else. And it was cold, and it was there were
who stages a protest in the middle at the end of January? Like, come on. In Canada,
a Canadian, a stubborn proud Canadian. and that's real. The waves that we made those cold nights, they ricocheted off the shores abroad before they ever came back home, because that media machine, and because of the current government that we have, they painted a horrible picture of us. And listening to that intern Bell sniveling on the television, like the anger and the angst that he had in his he was
You're talking about
speaking about
the
our
police
presence
chief
there.
in Ottawa, yeah, the intern.
Oh, intern police chief Bell. I'll never forget. It was the first night we had a hotel room, and that was the shower, and some of the trucks were breaking, and we just decided, we all chipped in with the money that people have been giving us, and we got a hotel room so we could all just decompress. And I remember turning on the television and staring at him, and just watching his nose flare as he's describing something that was never present in the day at all, because I was on the streets and I saw that and I was there. And then I have, you have family members call you going, oh my gosh, is this that? And I would do another live and I would just denounce the whole situation instantly for so many people. But the media machine was working overtime to just paint the picture of something that we weren't. We were just standing up as best we could for what we honestly felt was wrong. And it was wrong. And it's been proven to be wrong. And we exposed so much nonsense with the machine, and overreach at every turn. And it's still going on now. And that's why I wanted to be a part of the carbon tax protest, is because it's in every house. It was an easy one for me. Sorry about that.
The
got heat on in the office.
A lot. That was the laundry's done.
Yeah, it's the penalty box.
So yeah, the carbon protest, the carbon tax protest. So this got fired up, and I remember when I was hearing about it, and I think I sent you a message at one point. I said, "You guys aren't going to the cities again, are you? Like that's gonna be a shit show. You don't want to be there." I didn't know what your plan was, but then you decided it wasn't gonna be in the cities, like the news was suggesting. It was gonna be at the border crossings between provinces. Why did you choose that?
I didn't really choose it. I wasn't part of the founding fathers of it. I knew a bunch of these people, and through the freedom movement and through other demonstrations, and the Save the Kids, and there was a couple other groups that had built a network. And I was literally, I was just watching it one night, and I saw their first little podcast there, and I was scared, because I loved the concept of it, and I loved what they were trying to do, and I knew it was genuine and it was important, and just the way it was getting pitched, I didn't want it to. I wanted it to be. It was important to me to get it out there as best we could, and that wasn't their strong suit. And I don't mind talking to people, and I have been educating myself on a lot of this. And when I bought the garage, I saw the carbon tax hit super hard. And I'm seeing my customers struggle, and I'm seeing myself struggle. And yeah. So the interprovincial border thing, it was just literally, make a presence, when during a protest, you can just disrupt things, right? And make the presence be announced, that there is enough people, and all the locations were nice and wide open and safe, and for the people to see. And there was, like you said, the congestion in a downtown core. It's too much. Try to manage the people, and not a lot of us live in the cities. The ones that are being hit and that are willing to stand up for the carbon tax right now, we see it because we're in the rural communities, and we have to travel in and out of these towns, and I think that's why they chose those, and it was something that was everybody could get to. It wasn't Ottawa. It was a lot closer to home for most people.
Yeah, because my fear with the whole idea of like people going back to Ottawa was like the characters that come in, like the characters, because I knew, like, okay, you guys, you'd be fine, you'd show up, and then you're doing your thing, but then you got all these other people that are that'll jump in and try to, take over your protest to get some attention, because they have their own cause, but then it looks like there's a bunch of people behind them, right? And then poor schmucks go in and they get their thing kind of hijacked on them.
And it's happening, it, like what you and I have just been going through with the Dags is it's pathetic. It's something totally different. But before we get into that, I have to say how proud I am of everybody that is still holding the line out there. Like, I've had to come home and run my business, and I went back down last weekend, and I've got I can't thank them enough, and their families that are supporting them, pulling up the slack at home, and that are willing to expose themselves to these. There are some people out there that are definitely profiting, or trying to profit, or get clout, or do their thing that they've been doing for a little while, and it didn't take us long to expose them when you're on the ground and you're doing it, because the proof's in the pudding. If somebody's actually gonna engage and come out there and stand in a blistering snowstorm with their country's flag in their hand, and get covered head to toe in slop and slime, and still do it with a smile on their face, and you look down the line and there's a couple of you there, and it's like, yep, this is it, guys. It's cold and bitter, but you actually knew you were doing something genuine, and there was no bullshit. It is what it is. And you would see people in the for the photo ops, and literally being a hindrance to those that were really just trying to do it the best they can. We boasted right from the get-go. All we wanted was professionalism. We wanted your A game. Come out here and stand for your country and stand for your community. And there was a lot of people that were trying to insert their narratives and their agendas on our movement, and that's why we had the mission statement and the code of conduct. Keep it incredibly simple, directly to only eliminating the carbon tax. It's not to come back with any other form of taxation. This is the facet that is crippling our families right now. It hurts every single one of us. The price on everything is skyrocketing. It is not a hard conversation for me to have, because everybody knows it. The officers on the side of the road, they knew it. It wasn't something I had to explain to much depth, because, like I said, it was crippling your mom, your dad, your aunts, your uncles, your children, and trying to think that we're supposed to be building this marvelous foundation to grow our families. And you can't afford yourself right now, and that it's all because of this machine that is designed to cripple us. And the biggest one for me was the carbon tax, because they are forecasting to just every April 1st, she's just climbing up there, and if you can't afford it now,
just wait a year. Just wait a year. It's just gonna get worse. And so I wanted to get into this, and I was looking around to see if I could find the picture. I don't have it handy. But it was a picture that you posted on Facebook of a receipt for the fuel that you get at your gas station, and just insane amount of money. So, like, I don't have the picture of it, but just break it down. Like, how much fuel did you have to get, and how much are you paying in carbon tax and passing? Obviously, you're passing this on to the consumer.
I get one a week. I get one a week, and that is all. That is it. Yeah. The lady that did the TikTok on it, I think it's at 1.4 million views. That's that. So it's getting around. It was 3,000 liters of fuel. I think at the time of the ticket, it was $1.19 for the fuel, and I was paying $1.76. So, you're talking $2,000 worth of taxes. So if it was the $3,000 in the fuel, I was paying I think it was $5,500 it cost me to buy 3,000 liters of fuel. 2,000 of that was taxes on it. And these are just, I know it's closer numbers when you look at the receipt, but it's atrocious. And for me as the end guy before the consumer, I put a 3 cent markup on that, and sometimes it's 4. But I'm a full service station. We go out, we'll wash your windows, we'll check your oil, we look at your tires, we take the whole thing into consideration.
I have never
I
even
am I
seen that anymore. I
like,
haven't seen that since the 90s. Oh, wow,
right?
full service? You kidding me?
Yeah, and where, and it's important. I have customers that come from, they come out of their way because of, bad knees, bad hips. It's awesome that we can be that place for those people, because you know the family network is no longer what it used to be. You don't have 4 or 5 kids at home, and where grandma can yell out, "Boys, go check my tires," or there's so much seclusion right now, and everybody's moved abroad from the Maritimes, and they're working out there, and
It's
yeah,
crazy
that
though.
those big families aren't there anymore.
Two like between 3 or 4 cents a liter you're taking. Like the government's taking what, like 70 cents,
67 cents. Yeah.
67
They
cents a
take
liter, and
67
you
cents for
get,
doing absolutely nothing.
yeah, and you get
And the
four
other
cents at
aggravating,
best.
so I'll make $150 on that 3,000 liters, and I'll sell 3,000 liters of gas in a week. It's getting busier now. We have the orchards, the apple orchards are all here, and they support me. They buy their fuel, so but
A
it's not
hundred
enough to pay the wage of the person,
$150 for a week.
buddy. Well, I give that's the gas and the diesel, so it's ridiculous when you actually break it down to what the profit on it. I don't even know if it pays for the hydro to have it on. So it's all based on just getting the people in the door so they can buy some diabetes and a pack of smokes, and I'll make a couple bucks on that. It's
And then hopefully service
it's
their
it's
car
heartbreaking,
at the
buddy.
garage.
Yeah, yeah, and and I try and offer good quality stuff, but it's expensive, right? And I have there are young kids that run to the cooler because it's got cheese sticks in it, and it's got a whole bunch of different kinds of cheese sticks in it, and I like that. But there we do have the old school candy, and it's good, and I like the ice cream, and
You got such a
but
heart. It's hilarious. Nobody would get in the business of delivering fuel to consumers. Why would you get into that business? It's not even that's I mean, is there an opposite word to lucrative? Like is like that is
it's retarded. Part of me, I don't know. I did take a hit to the head, but
wow.
it's just it's a complete service to the community. I mean, the gentleman who owned the garage, 5 owners before me or 4 owners before me, he's you know Glendon's in his 80s, and he works harder than most people today. He still runs a sawmill. Him and I were he brought his camper van in. It had a stuck caliper. Short story, but it's worth it. Him and I are under we're sharing the time together, and we're bonding, and I had to do an inspection on it, so wanted to make sure it was good to go, and it had a stuck caliper, and you and I know that a stuck caliper on an old Sportsman Dodge can really ruin your camping adventure. So and he was dead set. No, we'll just pop the piston out. We'll give her a polish. We'll flip the seal. Everything will be good. And I'm like, yes, Glendon, I know. But for $82, I can have you a brand new remand one here before we even get this one off. I promise you. Oh, no, no, no. So we sat there and we rebuilt the caliper. And the next day it stuck again, and we put the new one on. But it was the time I got to spend with him and all that was absolutely priceless.
Right.
And he had a tow truck, and he pulled everybody in the neighborhood out of the ditch at least once, or someone in their family. And it's a thankless job. Assuming the liability for the community in the automotive world is something that it does take an odd cat. We have to be a little bit crazy. And I have customers that show up, and they don't care what the price of fuel is. They know how important it is for the garage to be in Morristown. It's been there. I think 47 it was built, or so yeah, it's just my turn to have a crack at the can and take care of the community and do it. And it's if it wasn't for a plethora of broken stuff around and being, we're pretty good at it. I'm not the best mechanic by any means, but together I got a decent crew, and we'll keep building on that, and we're doing good stuff. And there's it, as well as I do, it doesn't take much to pull a spark plug out, give it some sandpaper, clean the carb, kick it out the door, if that's all it needs. And right now everybody's so convinced that it's just garbage. No, it's just garbage. Get rid of it. Go buy a new one. The big lighter mentality.
Those days are over,
It's
though. I mean, those days are over for a lot of Canadians, especially with the new proposed uh, uh, what is it, quotas of how many cars can be sold in Canada that are zero emissions. It really is just a quota on gas and diesel trucks and cars, and essentially what that's going to do is it'll starve the market of new vehicles, so people will be forced to fix older and older vehicles. And I mean, this is just going to put more work on our plates. As mechanics, we're going to have plenty of stuff to work on, because
yeah,
that's the thing. We already have a recession-proof job. I mean, that's it. In a great economy, our job's kind of boring when we're just doing oil changes on brand new cars all day long, right?
yeah,
And as you get into a recession, you fix cars until it gets so bad that people just start riding their bike.
yeah. And what it's going to be our issue is the parts availability.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're so lucky to have Lordco. Not that I'm trying to boast any corporate name or nothing, but like I deal with three large companies, and I still call out west and talk to Whistler from time to time just to get part numbers and just to utilize their network of suppliers, because it's incredible that here in the Maritimes they don't have a lot of what that one company does. And it's either that or you have to rely on the Amazon or the Rock Autos and that, and that it's the quality in a lot of it is just absolute garbage. It's not even worth installing sometimes. I've had lower control arms that they completely miss the weld on the bushing, and you know the customer do it yourselfer did the job, brought it into me. The car's handling funny, and the rear bushing was completely detached off the lower control arm, and you could
Wow.
see that the weld just missed it. So that's why a lot of shops they refuse to install the stuff, but
Well, yeah, and
you can't get it.
that's how it is for us at my shop. We don't install customer supplied parts. It's a liability. We don't want to assume. And then there's also, like, we have service riders, and their pay is through the sale of parts. Like, we get preferred rate, and then we sell it for basically what you would buy it for anyway if you bought it yourself.
Yep.
So because we get a preferred rate, we make a little bit of a profit, which allows us to hire somebody to answer the phone and get parts for us. So I mean, the industry works the way it
Yep.
works for a reason. You're not really saving a buck by buying your own parts. If you're listening to this, just trust your mechanic.
Yeah, you're not.
Trust your
You're
mechanic.
not. And that's it. And I have a good business because I am super fair, and I know you guys. I know Newport's always been super fair, and that's why it's still around, right? There's a lot of doors that open quick and they close right quick, and it's because yeah, they get too greedy. They can't provide, and they're just hungry on the buck. But no, it's a hard industry to be in. The convenience store and the gas it is literally it's a necessity of the community, and I'm sure they'll be shutting me down soon enough anyways for some unknown reason, or environmental this or air quality that. I don't know what it'll be, but
Well,
leave it up to them though.
hopefully, if we get a change in government, that won't happen. They haven't been cracking down on actual suppliers just yet, or the retail
Well,
and the supply chain.
They're working on it. They're working on it. You know it.
Now, I don't want to discourage people from getting into mechanics because we're obviously talking about supplying fuel to people.
Yeah.
That's the
No, get into the
that
trades. Get into the trades.
because I was saying at the beginning of
Make
the
an
show,
impact.
I was saying that at the beginning of the show
Yeah.
tonight. Yeah, get into the trades. It's and if you're watching the show and you know some young buck or something like that, somebody like that who's not sure what he wants to do for a living for the rest of his life, and it's not even for the rest of your life, you can get into this career and always have it as a fallback. Get yourself a trade and then go do whatever, corporate gig you think you want to do, but you always have a red seal to fall back on. That's the way to go. And people go to perpetual college these days. Go to trade school. The government essentially subsidizes it. You're going almost for free. You're getting paid the whole time while you're there, and at the end of the day, you get a high-paying job that's rewarding. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
It is awesome. I don't know if I would pick auto mechanics again. I did a stint. I went and got a computer systems technician degree in Ontario there. After I stepped out of the the automotive apprenticeship program. I got an allergic reaction to black rubber. So those Nurtile gloves for me came around a long time ago because overexposure. When I worked for a subsidiary of Honda, the Showa plant, and we would build CV shafts and shift work, grabbing that raw CV boot all day long, and I used to it was really bad for my hands. So I was like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna get out of this so I can still do it. And I went and I got a computer systems technician degree. And so I figured, perfect, with the way technology is going in the industry, it'll be great to have a good concept on what's going on in there, and try and morph the two industries together. And that's the best part about trades, is you can have a couple of them. There's nothing saying you ever have to stay in one, and there's so many facets of it. Like, pick what you're interested in. Pardon me. I've got a nephew. I've got a couple nephews, and I love them all. But my youngest nephew there, he's a plumber now, and he understands that it is a good job and it pays well, and if you do it right and you do it well, you don't have it's not a lot of work. It's the time well spent, and you're paid well to be in that place and do a good job, and it's great. But the poor guy, he still will never afford a home in Southern Ontario. Like, as a first-time home buyer, with what's going on, I stand out there for him too, and I want to stand up for all of them, because here he is, a new tradesman, and his girlfriend, they work good jobs, and it's just like trying to put the pennies together, and when you're looking where the decimal point is, it's ridiculous. And I fear for them, and to try to ever think of wanting to grow a new family. And yeah, man, I see a lot of harm on the horizon. And if the people can't stick together and stand up and unify, we got trouble. It's going to be a tough battle.
Well, this is why we got to fight against the whole divide and conquer stuff. We're getting into that in a minute here. I just want to talk about some of the super chats here. Jason Abbey with $2 super chat says, can you put in the description? I think you're talking about the We Unify event. Maybe I will put that in the description for sure. Anna May with a $6.99 super chat says, Clyde, can you do a shout out to my nephew, Mark Ivan, for the job offer from Hino Motors in Japan, please? He worked really hard to get this job offer. Well, shout out for that job offer, Mark. Great job, great work. That's awesome. I love to hear about people pursuing the careers that they want to get into, and Hino Motors. So it's obviously it's right up our alley. So yeah, big shout out to Mark. Thank you so much for the super chat as well. Daifeichu, I always don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct, with a $10 super chat. I'm praying for you and your family on a good move. I hope you can get some big shows down in Texas, so more people can get to know what a great guy you are. Well, thank you so much. I was talking to you on the phone just the other day about this whole move to Texas, and Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. You're gonna come visit me. I'm gonna make sure that happens.
Not on those 46-degree days you were talking about. You and I differ there, buddy.
Yeah, I come down in the winter when it's
I like
when
to
it's
be
crappy
warm.
and
Don't get me wrong.
when it's crappy up here. Come down and visit.
Sounds good.
Chris B with the 279 super chat says, "Hit the like button." Thank you so much. Jason Abbey with $2.
Please.
Good job, everyone, on closing chat and clicking like. Yeah, thank you so much. Jason Abbey also for $2 saying, Northern Fam Girl needs a membership. Let's try. And then I think he gifted that to her. Cherry, is it Sherry 1965 with a 279 super chat. No message. Thank you very much. Penny D with a $5 super chat saying, thanks, guys. Love that. Jason Abbey with a $10 super chat. It took me a few memberships to get Northern Fam Girl a membership. Let's give her a shout out. Clyde, can you do a 1 minute reading chat for you? Wait, 1 minute? 1 minute of reading chat for me? What does that even mean? I'm reading all the super chats here. We can get into some of the chat there as well. I'll see what's going on. Northern Fam Girl is in there saying, yeah, lol. Gordon Meyer asking, when's moving day? Well, we have to move out of this house by the end of the month, and then we got to find something temporary in town here, and I gotta try to find work, a place that we want to live, schools for the kids, all that stuff. It's kind of hard remotely, so it's kind of up in the air, but we're gonna make it work. That's a thing. Mr. Roscoe Pico for $5 says, race aftermarket parts, only no stock, no putting that problem back on.
New old stock, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I'm dyslexic, so when something is like a typo, I read it exactly as it's written.
It's our trait.
It is.
It's just how it is.
It is just how it is. Diane Sylvain with a $10 super chat. Sam, you are awesome. From Farm Girl in Alberta. Hey, Clyde, did you hear Donald Trump will be on Rebel News Rumble Freedom platform on May 8th? That should freak out Trudeau. I did not hear that. That sounds hilarious. I want to tune into that. It'll
ruffle feathers.
The whole media complex is just gonna have a freak out. They despise Donald Trump, and they keep trying to compare Donald Trump to Pierre Poilievre, which is like, wow. There really isn't much of a comparison there. And they keep saying that he's bringing American-style politics, but they're the ones inviting Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and all these people to their convention. So, yeah, blame others for exactly what it is that you're doing. Isn't that the old mantra from these kind of people? But anyway,
and that's true. That's it. That's how we've been able to expose them, and they will literally tell you what they're doing as they accuse you.
Mm-hmm.
It's factual. That's the best way to, most of the time, one of the customers, if I get in a customer's car to bring it on the hoist and CBC radio's on, I'm triggered. And I sit there and I listen to it, and honestly, whatever they're talking about, you watch the next couple days, and in my eyes, it'll be 100%. It'll be a 180 of what it is, and it's so interesting to see how they can control it so aggressively.
We also have Diane Sylvain with a $5 super chat. Says, sorry, Donald Trump Jr., my typo. Still will freak out the libs. Love it. Okay, so it's not Donald Trump, it's Trump Jr. Yeah, that's funny. Jason Abbey with a $2 super chat. Read normal chat for 1 minute. Okay, I'll read some of the normal chats. It's weird because when you try to read the normal chat, sometimes it's like you're reading other chats, like people saying things to other people. It's a thing. But one guy says, if Pierre Poilievre is the Canadian Trump, then Trudeau is the Canadian Mao. Yeah, well, that's a fair point. I think Trump and
Not far fetched.
Pierre will rock North America. I think that's true. I mean, I'm a fan of this idea of having Pierre Poilievre and Trump as the president of the United States at the same time, especially if the elections happen in a very very close succession there. Uh,
Confession through projection.
yeah, that's a Viva Fry thing. He says that a lot.
That's Rage Man or Ragman X. That's sorry, I'm reading your chats too.
Yeah, of course, of course. Clyde gets a lot of chat. Historic lows, Clyde. Yeah, of course. Getting back to the historic lows. Have you seen that video clip of Justin Trudeau telling a reporter that was asking him, "What are you gonna do when the interest rates, or how are we gonna service debts in the future if you keep borrowing all this
Oh,
money?"
Glenn.
You've seen it.
Right. Oh, how can you not? It's like when you're listening to that, and that's our prime minister. That's our commander in chief has to say. It's just like, did he just say he chooses not to focus on monetary policy?
He did.
Did he just say that? And he admires China for their dictatorship, and that the budget will balance itself, and that I'm an extremist. It's like, it's all nonsense. The lies that we're having to listen to and swallow is just ridiculous.
It is. I caught you. I caught you switching words there. It happens. But yeah, no, it's really crazy. They'll just make all kinds of stuff up, or they'll find little misnomers, and then they want to pretend like it's something serious or something else. Miriam Bartley with a $2 super chat. No message, just saying a big a number one. Thank you so much. Jason Abbey with $20 says, "Thanks, Clyde. Let's share your guest social media." Of course, everybody knows Sam on Twitter, and Sam is also on Facebook. That's where people mostly will find you, right, Sam?
Yeah, that's right. I do have a Rumble page, RPM FMP. That I got a bunch of the Freedom Convoy stuff on there, a bunch of the videos that weren't taken off the phone, and it's pretty good. But no, at Rebel JP for the Twitter.
Wait, how would you say RPM FMP?
FMP all caps. Yeah.
I just want to get it, so I'll have it here, so I can show it. I can show it on the screen here. So you go over to that Rumble page, but I'll also because I'll be publishing this on Monday as well. I'll put the links to all of this stuff in the description, so people that watch it Monday morning can check that out as well, as well as all your social media, Facebook included. You always put all your videos on Facebook, and I was like, hey, dude, why aren't you on on YouTube? But Facebook, you guys had like so many people in your Facebook groups, right? It was crazy.
And that's it too. Like I mean, a lot of us are what is it? Creature habits.
Yeah.
And just with the Facebook platform, it went to 100. You know what? This is how busy we've all been. I couldn't tell you what the accurate numbers are on that, but I think it was 185,000 last time I checked on the nationwide protest against the carbon tax. And here's how the nonsense goes, you know, with the interference and the people that have inserted themselves in right from the get-go of it. We've been the sabotage that we've had to deal with. The person that started all the subgroups is holding them essentially hostage, and he's got these bot farms going and these trolls that are in there, and they're just constantly putting slander and inappropriate things. Like, we all agreed that every page it's just going to be carbon tax stuff. And
wait, so something's happening on like an IT side of things and in the Facebook pages?
We have one guy, and you know, as we got to talk about it, we nobody could figure out where he was vetted from or how he became involved with it. And he did a lot of good work, and it was really impressive. And on our Zoom calls, it was very genuine. Like I said, he was doing a lot of work, and from my standpoint, he was investing himself very heavily into it. And he's still on there right this very second, and I'm sure he's gonna watch this. He took my yesterday's live and he put it on a Twitter spiel, and put the hashtags axe the taxes, and then stop the shots, like, just, and then my blurb underneath it, like trying to associate me into other things that I'm not focusing on right
Oh,
now.
right. Okay.
And this
So
is
like you want to just keep it as one thing. Get rid of the carbon tax in Canada. That's the one issue.
That's it. As far as I'm concerned right now, what this is going, like, I put myself into this, and I know all the harm, and I know the political nonsense, and really what it was for me, it was an expose. It was to show how the RCMP are going to treat you when you do stand up peacefully, and it's going to be how the Prime Minister of Canada chooses to show up or chooses not to show up, and the words that he says, and it's going to expose the people that show up on the side of the road and do a good job, and it's going to show the people that didn't. This has been a complete egg on their face mission for me. Just literally show the Canadian people, the ones that the CBC have been indoctrinating so hard. I wanted to give them something to see that completely went against the narrative. And every car that goes by with their cell phone in the passenger window and all those honks, they're going home and turning on the TV, and they're watching them slander us. And they're like, well, no, Maggie shared that on the sisters group. That's the same people there. Look at that. They were awesome. She stopped in for a hug and a cup of coffee, and they were cooking hot dogs and having a birthday party for this 19-year-old. Like, there was a whole group of truck drivers that stopped by, and they drive back and forth, and they've been across Canada, and they saw all these demonstrations carry on, and they're just so proud, and they what can we do, and here come the cases of water and the cases of Gatorade and the food, and it's just like, no, boys, there's only 10 of us here.
We got enough, thanks.
They're like, no, this is fine. Or like, yeah, but I don't, we need people. Like, go home and convince people that this is the best thing you can do, is literally come down for 10-15 minutes. And so sure enough, everybody that shows up in the roundabout would come and grab a flag and go out there and stand there, and you would instantly see it come over the soul that it was genuine and it was good for you to do that and make a difference. And then all of a sudden you'd get some horn honks, and the people would be, it was kind of like a concert. You were fishing. You wanted, what does it take to get this guy to honk his horn? Is it a smile? Is it a dance? Is it a twirl of the flag? Anything to just keep your morale up and put the hope in the Canadian people that there are people that are willing to do something about the harm and stand up. And like I said, I'm so proud of the people that are still doing it with style. They did bring their A game, and they knew it was going to be a long haul, because they have no interest in paying attention to us.
No,
right?
I was
blindsided when Pierre decided to show up at the trailer. I have mixed emotions about it. I feel it was.
Let me stop you there. There's a couple more super chats, and then I want to get into that. So Prep Rebel Actual with a $69.99 super chat says Trudeau needs to friggin' take a walk of shame. He actually spelled it frickin', not the usual Canadian friggin' that I'm used to. Trudeau needs to frickin' take a walk of shame. He's so out of touch. Absolutely, he's out of touch. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that very generous super chat. Jason Abbey says, for $2, finish your 1 minute rating. We did a minute. We're moving on because I want to get to this story, because this was how you guys made national headlines because they were just waiting for something to slander you about, and this was their moment. The next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre, joins. He just happened to be going through. You weren't there, incidentally. You weren't there at the time, but it was your trailer. So he just happened to be going through, and he stopped at where all these people are protesting against the carbon tax that he's also made his #1 flagship ticket for his election. It's going to be the carbon tax election, and that's what he says. And this is where it's going. Now, when he gets there and goes into your trailer, and they focus on one little aspect of it, and that was the flag at the bottom corner. You can see that on the screen. This little flag that was drawn on, and what is your trailer that has tons and tons of signatures and all that stuff from the Freedom Convoy, correct?
Yep.
So explain this.
Yep.
Explain
and
this.
Other functions. So that trailer was a blank slate when it came off the street, off Wellington Street. I have pictures of it, and there wasn't a spot you couldn't draw on it with a Sharpie. You couldn't. The words of encouragement and love and appreciation, the names from around. There are people literally from around the world that wrote their names and a little something something on that trailer. The inside, the outside. When we were in Ottawa, the salt and brine that was on the trailer, we were trying to wash it off to preserve it. And by the time I got home, I wasn't able to clear coat it. That's an expensive adventure to try and preserve something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it slipped by because we were just too busy. And as the sun has faded, it started to they've come off. And then we went and did the Christine Anderson tour. And it was signed again, and we did this Save the Children, and then we did a reunion, and every time it was always just an open slate. Like, if you have something of encouragement, or you have whatever you want to put on there, feel free. Never with any harm in mind and no intent. And Morgan, I believe, is how I didn't know who put it on there. It didn't really affect me. And that's how neutral it is to me. I never put any onus to it. Some people like the Montreal Canadiens, some people don't. Like, it's just it's another thing, right? And to hyper focus on it and to see how they have reacted over such a stupid thing. Like, there's so many people that didn't know what the FYMM is, and I was like, you know what, after a year that it was on there, I actually Google searched to figure out what it was, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that makes sense. That was heavy to do with the vaccine mandates and the Arrive can and everything we were going through, and no means no, or just say no, and all the slogans that came about.
Mm-hmm.
And to see them just jump on that, and they asked me, they're like, oh, poor Tommy, he saw the video right away, and they all felt so bad that they had let him in without talking to me. And I was like, absolutely not. This is the most welcoming environment anybody, like, the proof that he was not threatened by our presence, and that his security detail was there, and that there was all of a sudden, there was a couple RCMP. I guarantee you, we are under surveillance there when the people are there. That what they've done to our cell phones and the drones that are there in the nighttime, and I know that they're trying to pay attention to us because they want something to hold over us, and watching how they responded to the Diagolon picture is the proof in the pudding. Like, they are grasping at all straws. They're trying to find something they can hang over good, peaceful, proud Canadians. And if that's what they're going to do, and then to see how Jeremy responded to it, and when I saw that video, what he said about you, and I was just so so I had vomit in my mouth all morning. I just couldn't swallow what I had heard because I had so much I wanted to just verbally vent on this guy, and it wasn't worth it.
Mm.
And then the private message that he chose to send to me is just, it was just like, man, you're in the same kindergarten class as our prime minister. You guys are pathetic. Canada deserves so much more than this. And I do strongly believe that anybody that has served for our country and done something like that should be seeking therapy. Like I have been through some heavy traumatic experiences in my life, most that wouldn't believe what I've had to go through, and I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for really good therapists. And I went through some shitty ones, don't get me wrong. Like, I had people that I just couldn't resonate with, and I just didn't appreciate their time, and it wasn't working. But then all of a sudden I got a guy that he was just like, hey, you know what, you're fucking doing fine. Pardon my language. You're doing okay, bud. Like, quit worrying about it. Like, day by day, and focus on the love. Stop dwelling on all the anger and the hatred and the pain and the frustration and the sorrow. Like, you have to acknowledge all of those things, but don't hyper focus on any of it.
Mm.
Focus on the moderation in life. Do it all. Enjoy it all. Work your butt off. Play your butt off, but do it all. Don't sit there and freak out all the time.
Well, and fomenting is like I think the word for it, because I mean, these guys were not on my radar for the longest time. I mean, I know they're doing a thing, that's their thing. I thought it was a joke too, and then they got upset with me because I was supporting the Conservative Party in my region. Like, well, it's such a benign thing.
Right.
So I looked at what they were saying about me so that I could argue with them, and then I found out that they fomented on a lot of these things. And my thing is, like, this is why I want to keep people's spirits up, because I know when people feel like there's nothing that they can do in their life, they start to look for scapegoats. They start to look for people to blame it on. And, the government's a great group of people we can blame things on, and that's fine. But, then blame it on, racial groups and blame it on this and that. I'm not into that. I don't get behind that. I don't want that in my life. And, I decided to show people what they were actually saying. That's what I intended to do, just so people are like, not, quickly, because here's the thing, the media has gone right to anytime somebody they disagree with politically, how can we frame them as these bad guys, racists or homophobes or any of that stuff. And of course, in our society, the reason why those labels stick and they're so bad and they're so damning is because we largely think that those are bad ideas, and to associate someone with those ideas is bad. But then when this group decides that they want to start adopting some of these ideas, I'm like, whoa, what the heck? People need to know about this. And that was really my only intention in that whole ordeal. But here's the liberals trying to tie you guys to this. And this is the whole thing. Like, if those guys want to go and foment and be angry and do that on their own, that's one thing. But then, for other people to be labeled in that same thing, good people that are doing good things, like yourself, like other people that are also doing other great things. This is where I'm like, I take exception to it, because I know what you're doing and I know what your real thoughts are. You and I have gone camping together, man. Like,
yeah, dude.
Like, we've spent nights at the campfire togetger, and with our families as well, with our kids and our wives together. Yeah, that's the thing. So I don't want to see people like you getting tarnished by the bad behavior of other people, and that's where really my motivations came from in all of that stuff. But
so when I experienced all this, that was the reality. You get a good gut sense when you want to spend time with somebody and you want to you want to invest yourself in somebody else's family and take care of it. You learn from those. It is the gut sense. And I don't think that everybody agrees 100% with that rage. I guarantee you that there's people that are like, oh, I don't not want to be part of this because I was part of it before, and it's just getting carried away. And I think it is motivated politically. I just there's no reason why it should have come out as way as it was. So why was it there, and why are they choosing to use that to try and paint me with, and the people that are participating? Because it's not going to hold up. We are good people, and we have no interest in causing any harm to anybody. This is our mission with the carbon tax removal, is to help everybody, regardless of who you are, regardless of what you do and why you do it. Like, this literally affects, it will help every political party if we can succeed, because the evidence as I see it is it's the facet that's absolutely crippling our families right now. And it is an overreach that I believe is unelected foreign bureaucrats. They're the ones that are choosing to destroy our country. It's not the Canadian people. We've just been conditioned or convinced or psyoped or whatever it is, psychosis, whatever it is that they've been doing to us to convince us that this is a good idea to pay for a better environment. I'm not a climate denouncer, but to think that by making me completely broke is going to make the weather better is ridiculous.
Well, this has been an argument that I've brought forward a bunch, because we know this from history. If people are poor, they don't care about the environment. They don't. They only care about making ends meet. So, what happens when people are poor? They can't heat their home. You know what they're going to do? They're going to go out and they're going to poach trees. They're going to burn whatever they can and make heat to keep their house warm. It's going to be detrimental to the environment. It's been the case all over the planet. This is just a human condition. But as people get wealthy, that's when they start looking around and go, this place is a dump. Let's take care of this place.
We're not allowed to talk reality here. This is 2024.
This is what I do on this channel. I talk reality, my man.
I know.
I've labeled it.
Good.
I've even labeled it. I call it being ecological. This whole concept, staying away from the environmental way of doing things that we've been doing.
That's perfect.
It is. Perfect. And the thing is, like, Canadians are some of the people that care about the ecology and the environment the most around the world. People from Canada, it's drilled into us. We all care about the environment. We live so close to it all the time in Canada. It's crazy. And so many people are outdoors, woodsy type people. We all know, if you're not one, you know somebody. And people generally care. I mean, we even go through the ritual of doing the recycling. That's not even very beneficial when you look into that either.
Definitely not.
But
let's not get into it. But it's not. It's not like the whole recycle. Live in Whistler for a while. Go through that recycling world and watch how many trucks actually go down the corridor with what they say is supposed to be in it, and you'll be disgusted.
Oh, it's like the Duff factory in The Simpsons. Duff and Duff Light. Comes out of the same tube. You got it. That's the way it works. But people do the ritual and they feel good about it, and that's what matters on like a political level. And this is why I want to focus people and to say, like, listen, we have technology that will get us out of this. We don't need to impoverish people with things like a carbon tax. We can implement technology. We can adapt, different ways of living. Whatever happened to, using, you remember the milk bottles that we used to get?
Oh, yeah.
I use them now.
Pop bottles were glass. It was a greed thing, bud. It's country club greed. I've had this analogy through here. until we can figure out a way to get rid of the greed, we're going to have a heck of a time with politics. And I don't think a majority government should ever be something that Canada should have. We should have fair governance all across the board,
Mm-hmm.
and we should have fair taxation, because we need it. We need a solid infrastructure. We need, but with all that, the main facet for me is accountability. Is you have to know you can be fired from your job in the moment if you screw up, and your peers identify that you have just drastically harmed the mission or the person or something, that you, just like with any other job, you're fired, man. And these people that are just running around like they have this cloak of safety on. It's that's what I would like to see changed in government, is accountability for their actions, because what we've seen over the last bunch of years, there are people that are going out of their way to push these narratives and continue this harm. And the fact that Guilbeault is a convict, or he is a convicted criminal, and all of a sudden he's our environment minister. That's who vetted this guy? Where did he come from? How did he become?
They wanted him.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? Like, I think we must have missed all the other resumes that came in for that position.
Oh, he was perfect for the Liberals. He was perfect, exactly. Well, I mean, he was convicted for scaling the CN Tower as in a protest thing. I think he did another one where he climbed on somebody's roof, some politician's roof. I can't remember. Greenpeace does,
and that's idiocracy.
Greenpeace,
right there.
Greenpeace is the organization that he was affiliated with, and they do even worse things. I mean, you lived in British Columbia, you know about the spikes in the trees and what that does to loggers. Like, they do some awful things, and that's not just environmental activism.
Sabotage.
That's terrorism.
Yeah.
That's terrorism is what that is. Like those nails, even if the tree gets down and doesn't hurt the logger, it'll go down and it'll hurt the people in the sawmills. Like, it's not just damaging equipment;
Absolutely.
it's putting people's lives at risk, and that's some criminal stuff. So I get really upset when I hear about stories about people doing that kind of thing. It's just ugly behavior.
That's because we have friends and family that thrive on sustainable logging, and we are out, like, we've been in those forests where you've seen it done right, and it's not a rape and pillage. It's it's done with sustainability and regeneration in mind, like, and that's how it should be. And they have great groups of people that sit there and manage it, and unfortunately, I know in the last 5 years it's been sabotaged, or it's been taken over by these bureaucrats, man.
Well, people don't realize that it actually when loggers go in, because I got friends that are loggers, and they go in, they cut down, they keep the biggest root system in that area, in that cut block. They keep the biggest root system in, and then they clear everything out, and then they have a few particular trees that are gonna rejuvenate the next growth, right? And then they bring in what they call the smellies. Anyone at logger camp, they know that.
Plant.
The smellies, the smellies that come in. There's a quota for. They all smell like patchouli and BO. You'll understand what I'm talking about. But
but if you hang out in the bush if you try and plant trees and you subject yourself to that environment, and the bugs, the black flies, the mosquitoes, the heat, and when you know that you're just focused at task at hand, and that's put the seedling in the ground, and everyone is planted with care, and they're paid well to do that job, because it is a hard, thankless, stinky, dirty job, but it has to be done, and that's a thing. It's a true thing, and it happens, and it's done well, and you can see the reforestation, and they're a huge facet of it, and there's not enough of those people,
No.
It's because not many people want to get out and be like, what do you mean I have to have a specialty shovel and good boots and not be allergic to 100,000 horsefly or a horsefly bites a year. Yeah.
That's pretty bad. It's brutal out there. Holy cow. I mean, I've gone out looking for firewood and stuff. You go to these cut blocks. Oh man. Yeah, it's a tough job, tough job. And I know a lot of good people that do that work. And they do it honest. It's an honest living. And here's the thing, it's good for the environment actually what they're doing, because they're replanting the CO2 that gets soaked up by these new growth forests is way more than any old growth forest actually, because it's sequestering it. Old growth are neither neutral or they actually produce carbon dioxide, which a lot of environmentalists don't want to talk about. Logging actually reduces carbon dioxide. It soaks it up, and then what do? We harvest it and we turn it into houses. Like it's a win-win really at the end of the day. And then the other angle that I like to tell people is, well, what would you prefer? Poached wood from the Amazon rainforests, or would you rather Canadian ethical wood that's harvested and done in a good way?
So how about all the mills? Like how many friends do you know that have lost their jobs in the mill aspect of it?
Yeah.
Like all that unprocessed timber that's being sent abroad, and then we're trying to convince ourselves that by driving less here is emitting less CFCs or less hydrocarbons into the atmosphere, when we've got these big freighters full of raw lumber going abroad to be processed and then shipped back across over the seas on these huge boats that sip hundreds of liters a day. And we're taking away from the communities that thrived on these mills. And I had one of my customers, the guys from here, he was just in Merritt, and we were just talking about the big mill in Merritt, and he's like, "That's your old stomping ground, isn't it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I used to stock car race in Merritt. It's like pretty cool spot." And he's like, "Well, I don't know if it's pretty cool or not." And he was talking about the floods and the atmospheric rivers, and how, talking to the locals, they're like, some of these places have been around forever and never flooded, and why all of a sudden now? And we're trying to be told it's climate change, and they're like, no, like this infrastructure was never actually repaired, and it's been on the back burner for 10 years. We knew this was going to happen if we had a rainfall that accumulated to this much. And I was in Memphis, and I weren't far from, well, you know where the cabin is, right?
Yeah.
And we weren't far when Linton burned. And you're a realist. When you see something with your own eyes, you'll never forget it. And that was something I'd never seen before the night that place caught on fire. And I've seen a lot of forest fires, and it's very disturbing to see what that town is right now, that you still can't get in it, and it's still blocked up, and those people aren't getting their properties back. It looks just like Lahaina, that little town in the middle of British Columbia, where the Thompson and the Fraser happen to meet, and the CN and the CP rails happen to meet. It's the only corridor in all of British Columbia where everything comes together. And there's not a lot of population there anymore, but
yeah, prime real estate for business and commerce. Yeah, this is when the tinfoil hat comes on, right? That's when
it's all around,
the tinfoil hat comes on, and you're like, somebody's behind it. Yeah, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's disheveled infrastructure. It's not atmospheric rivers. We got dikes that have been, scheduled for repair for decades that haven't been repaired. And yeah, when those dikes and those levees give, the flood comes. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science at all. And forest mismanagement, like the amount of forest debris that we see in the forests, like we shouldn't be tolerating that. It should be a case of get rid of it. It's fuel, controlled burns, all these things. What do? They do nothing. And then when a forest fire does happen, well, then it's a crown fire. It's not just a little fire, it's a crown fire. And for people who don't know what a crown fire is, it's when the forest, because forests normally burn. It's the reason why coniferous trees, pine cones, they don't even open up unless they're in an environment that's hot enough, like a forest fire. I mean, it's normal. Why do you
Right.
deciduous trees, they drop flammable stuff on the ground once a year? Why do you think that is? You know what I mean? There's brush fires are normal, but it's when there's too much
But when the
fuel,
crown
when the crown, when
when the
the when
crown
the
goes.
canopy goes up, then it's devastating, and you get things like actual scorched earth, like the actual term scorched earth, where even the enzymes and little microorganisms in the soil get burned off, and it's just sterilized. It takes
Yeah.
decades and decades for that soil to be rejuvenated and become a forest again. It's crazy. So like this modern environmentalism is actually so detrimental to the environment, and this is why I'm pushing it. Like, no, we need to come in with real technology and real industry, and fix our environment that's been mismanaged by doughheads for so long.
Yep. We have to start paying, or we got to keep paying attention to our elders.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we've been denouncing them for so long, and that, I learned most of my industry from my peers. And I grew up as a little kid in the corner of the shop, and if I wanted to be included, I was quiet and I didn't touch anything, and I was quiet and I didn't touch anything. And that's how I was allowed to be involved in with these professional men. Sorry, I got a dog sleeping under me,
Oh,
and
okay.
she's just started snoring.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Uh,
Yeah.
we've been going for a bit now. I don't want to go too long. Of course, I'm gonna keep you on the line after we end the chat here
Yeah.
live, but I want to get to some of the super chats that people did leave before we finish up here. Jason Abbey with $10 super chat says, "Can you do an update on Tamara Leach, Coots 4, and what you know, and if you can do interviews? Oh, and oh no, you can't out donate me." Any 69 says Jason Abbey. Okay, so two messages in there. He says he won't be out donated. Yeah, I'll get on those stories. I'm gonna have Tamara on the show hopefully before I'm out of this place and lose this studio. So hopefully I'll have her on the show. Not in the studio, but I'll have her on the show. Jason Abbey again with another super chat for $100 saying beat this. Okay, so it's a competition in the super chats at the moment. Okay, top super chat of the night. Jason Abbey again with $5 super chat. Just tell your friends about Clyde and his high vis merch, which I'm gonna have to get going at some point. Diane Sylvain with a $5 super chat. The power of non-violent resistance lies in its ability to reveal the true nature and intentions of violent and malevolent enemy. Author unknown. That's a really interesting quote. This is why I think it's important that you guys are doing what you're doing, Sam, with the non-violence, like from the convoy to this new thing. It's always been on top notch, on the level. You guys are so well behaved and just doing everything right, and people love you for it. This is amazing.
And I'm proud to be doing it this way. You know it. You and I have had many conversations. There is many ways to skin a cat, and this is the way I've chosen to do it. And I'm so pleased to the people that are participating as well. And right down to the liaisons. The last, we were doing some slow rolls, and that's totally legitimate, and it's all acceptable. And the one girl came up, and she just pulled in behind us. She's like, okay, one lane or the other lane, guys. It's like, oh, I was just passing him. And she's like, I was behind you. I know exactly what you guys were doing. She says, we support you and we appreciate you, and keep up the good work. And, to have somebody that's, she's employed. She is doing her job, and she has a couple different ways she could do her job, but she's doing it well. She's doing it with professionalism, and she's doing it with empathy, and yeah, it seems like she is the youngest of six brothers. Like I wouldn't be picking on this one at all. And that's and just to share that respect for one another in a professional stance is exactly what I was hoping we could get really amped up. Like when we went into the convoy and the people on the overpasses, and that's what I can't understand. I don't know what we're missing in the recipe to get everybody rallied up, because part of it was the faster we all stand up for this, then the faster we all get to go home and we all get to take care of our communities and our families. And there's 40 some odd million in Canada and 185,000 on our webpage, and I bet we had less than 2,500 people participate across Canada in it. That's not really the best numbers, but
well, during the convoy, I mean,
yeah,
that was 2 years of a pandemic. I mean, I it's completely understandable that many people were absolutely affected. This carbon tax,
yeah,
it's only starting to affect people, and they're only starting to see the real hurt that this is going to bring. $20 bacon,
yeah,
man, $20 bacon is going to motivate people, and that's the reality of it.
yeah.
Because that's what's going to happen.
And it's coming. It's
It
coming.
is coming.
It's so freaking close.
J-
It's so freaking close.
Jason Abbey here with
get to these.
yeah, Jason Abbey with a $2 super chat says, "Have a good night, Clyde, and everyone." Oh, I guess he jumped out. Have a good night, Jason Abbey. If I missed you, sorry about that. Diane Sylvain with a $50 super chat saying, "I saw counselors in my life. I was a prosecutor for years. Example: some of my victims committed suicide. Jeremy has cried online about his vet friends committing suicide. Sadly, he is at a place of hate and anger. I do not agree with him. I pray for him." And that's a good way to look at it. It really is. It really is a good way to look at
100%.
it. Because like even people that spew the most hateful things or say awful things, they're doing it from a position of hurt. Like nobody gets there because they just want to be that. And yeah.
No, that guy was let down 100%. That guy was repetitiously let down.
Yeah.
In order to become the man he is right now. And I understand how toxic the dark side can be.
It can.
And it is such a powerful force. And then put money in the mix, whether it's on the positive or the negative side, man. It can mess up the best of people. And unless you've got a good team standing beside you, and you've got good values and morals and ethics, and that you're willing to understand you have to work on maintaining these things, or the dark, well, it can consume you. And I know his followers, they want that rage all the time, and it has to escalate and escalate and escalate and escalate. And it's a business for him. I think, I hope, I don't know, man. Like, to just think that somebody has that much hatred in their life just merely out of frustration of something that, like, yeah, there is a lot of reality that there's a lot of greaseballs and dirtbags in our parliamentary system.
Mm-hmm.
And that there is a lot of pieces there, in every facet, our financial system, our education system, our banking, or our everything, our medical system. We are hooped, and there is infiltration in it all, and there's hatred and harm in it all. I see that.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you not be angry all the time? Well, you got two options. You can either be angry all the time, or you can try to just keep your cool and show the professionalism and show the true Canadian side of life, and know that we already made waves being peaceful, and that there are those of us that are still willing to stand up for one another.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't too late for Canada. Absolutely not. There's a necessary, there's a heavy need for fair governance and fair taxation, because that's what has to happen. But this overreach tyrannical nonsense, this sociopaths that are running around just chirping away. It's unacceptable, and until they're held accountable for their actions, I don't think we'll have everybody on board. But like you said, you're right. The pandemic was 2 years of hatred and frustration and angst. That's what led us all to be out there. So I don't know how much longer my community can last. I don't know if they'll make another couple years at the rate this is harming them. But it's a damn shame, buddy.
It is a damn shame. Gary Crail with a $10 super chat says, "Howdy, Clyde and Clydesters, and also our Clydettes." Absolutely great to see all of you here. Clyde, thank you for everything that you're doing. Well, thank you, and obviously also thanks Sam here for everything he's doing. Al Stewart with a $20. Just tuning in, Clyde. Did you get a chance to read my reply to your comment in fuel loading from yesterday? On fuel loading from yesterday? No, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to read that. Where was that? Was that a comment in the video? I'm gonna have to search for that. If you tweet it at me, it'll probably show up in my mentions. So that'd probably be a better way to put it at me. But thank you so much, and hopefully I do get a message from you. Jason Abbey, $10 says, look at NP, Northern Perspective. Can't say Fox or Cypher in Super Chat. Say out loud who they are looking at, the top 10 Trudeau scandals. She sells by the seashore. I'm gonna mess all of that stuff up. Give me a break. Clyde, don't worry, I love you. Okay, thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Peter Whitten,
they're rough on you.
No, they're great to me. Peter Whitten, $2 says, love your community and love your community more and more every day. Thanks. Yeah, this is the greatest community. It's so amazing. I love hanging out with everybody. It's so cool. And even the times when we get to meet in person, it's fantastic, man. Just getting a face to the online names that you see and getting to shake hands is so amazing. I can't give it enough credit. And also being able to get out and touch grass, not just being online all the time. But this is why I keep pulling wrenches, man. That's touching grass. That's staying grounded right there. It's the way to keep your sanity for sure.
And it's a great way for us to interact with the people in our communities. There's no that's the icing on the sugar or icing on the cake for me. Is that I get to talk to people from all different walks of life and all different ethnicities, and they come in and they, unfortunately they usually need what I have, so they're kind of trapped in the conversation for at least a minute or two, and I get to hit them with it. It's good. It's good. We're making, our side isn't growing any smaller, and these communities and these families and the reality that Canada isn't that big, and there's it's just getting smaller and smaller for all of us because of the technologies. And I hope we can hopefully we can keep them going, right? And I just got a text there from a real good buddy of mine, and he's been a huge supporter and a fellow mechanic from Ottawa, and he helps me with the reason. He really helps me along, and a big shout out to that Mr. Addison guy, and he knows how important he is.
Awesome.
And just like you. And he was just saying that he was watching, he's heading off to bed, but him and I went through something the other day, and it was about the B trains of fuel that are traveling around. So your conventional transport truck right now that's going around 62,000 liters of fuel, based at $1.75, was $87,500 worth of value. 14,000 of that was taxes, and $1,500 of that is your HST on top of your carbon tax.
Holy cow.
So every transport truck you see cruising down the road hauling fuel has $1,500 of theft tax attached to it. And he's definitely a smarter man than I when it comes to numbers and such, and he's got a great view of it, and and like I said, he's been a huge help to me, and I'm blessed to have him as a friend. And that never would have happened because of Ottawa. And these networks that we're building, it's wicked. It's super powerful. It's gonna keep on going.
It's gonna keep
I
going.
hope we
It
make it
is.
out. I hope we make it out. I will make it out west to see you before you leave, and we'll go up and we'll go see if we can't catch a couple more of those fish.
Those little, no, those are tasty. Those are tasty. So where can people find you, Sam? Just one last plug before we get out of here.
Yeah, Sam Field on Facebook, at Rebel JP on Twitter. Sam's Garage, Morristown, Nova Scotia. Stop on by for a cup of coffee anytime, and as soon as I can and when I can, I'll be back at that border, standing with those passionate people that are really steadfast, and they're such proud Canadians, and they're standing on guard for thee. And that's as simple as it should be, to help. They identify, every single one knows that there's something going on, and there is a middle class that's willing to stand up against this. And we know that the poverty, it's hitting so many people, and that's it. I mean, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud of the people that are willing to stand up against these tyrants and make a genuine impact in a better future for our children.